In the early evening of December 12th, 2012, Sherese Walker Bingham would take her two German shepherds for a walk along a popular pathway in Indianapolis. What would happen next would leave everyone questioning what really happened that day and why this murder is still unsolved. Okay, let's go. Sherese Walker Bingham, who was 51 years old, was described by her brother as a giver who liked spending time with her family. She was a hard worker, currently working night shifts at PepsiCo, Gatorade. She was a good wife to her husband, Eugene Bingham Jr., and they had been married for 28 years. It's a long fucking time. Although she did not have children, she did have two gorgeous German shepherds called Mayday and Tsunami, who were like her children and loved them just as much. She was also described as having a heart of gold. I'm sorry, but I really loved Mayday and Tsunami as dog names. It's great.
It's kind of fucked up, though, because if a boat is in a tsunami, it would call Mayday.
Yeah. I didn't think about that, did I? No. Yeah.
But I like that.
In the early evening of December 12th, 2012, described as a cold winter evening, Sherese decided to take her two dogs for a walk before heading off to work. She lived about 8 minutes from a popular walking and cycling path called White River Trail in downtown Indianapolis, US of A. It is a track not that far away from a residential area along with local businesses. It was quiet on the evening of the 12th, so Sherese parked her car near North White River Parkway West Drive. I know, such a long American.
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
Yeah. The street was North White River Parkway West Drive.
Pick a lane.
Yeah. Pick something.
Pick something else.
Stick to it. Stop adding other stuff.
White River Pathway.
Yeah.
Parkway. Something.
West Drive. North White River Parkway West Drive. And she headed out on the trail. Around 6:40 p.m, a cyclist travelling along the pathway would stumble upon a rather confronting scene. The body of a woman laying on the trail and not moving. Straight away, they called 911. Emergency services would soon arrive to find a woman lying face down in a pool of blood and standing guard over her body, and currently off-leash were two German shepherds.
I was going to say, okay, so the blood, I was like, maybe she's just taking a nap.
No. As the animals were so protective of their owner, first responders needed to call animal control to approach the body, and the dogs were sedated. The woman was fully clothed and wearing lots of layers due to the winter weather, a pair of coveralls or overalls for the Aussies, along with some sneakers.
Overalls for the Aussies, dungarees, baby.
Dungarees? No. You know what's funny? When I was looking at this, I'm like, coveralls. I'm like, we don't call them coveralls. We call them overalls.
Or dungarees.
You don't call them dungarees. Sorry, Kiwi.
We don't say dungarees in New Zealand. That doesn't exist. That's Australian.
What?
Dungarees are Australian.
I have never heard that term.
You are bogan.
It's middle-class Australian. I've literally never heard that term before.
You've never heard dungarees?
No.
Sorry, again, does not matter. Back to you.
Upon rolling her onto her back, they could see blood and foam on her face, but no visible wounds. Next to her body was a .25 caliber handgun, a driver's license, a handgun permit, gloves, and a flip phone that was beeping due to low battery. Yes, all laid out beside her.
Not hers?
No,
her
it was
gun?
hers.
She
Yep.
had the gun?
Yep.
And she's dead?
Yes.
She had the gun and two very protective German shepherds.
Yes.
And she's dead.
Yes. We'll get into all that, yes.
Oh, please do, because
Yes.
I'm confused.
Yes, this is a rather confusing case. The driver's license would show that it was 51-year-old Sherese Walker Bingham, and she was declared deceased at the scene at 7:15 p.m. After assessing the area, first responders knew that they were now dealing with a crime scene, so they left Sherese laying on her back to preserve the area around her. Detectives would arrive around 8:30 p.m. and start searching the scene, as well as finding out if there are any witnesses. And I had a look at the map of the area, and I'm actually surprised that there was no witnesses and no one heard anything. Maybe I'll put something up on the Instagram stories when this comes out, but As I was saying, no eyewitnesses, being such a popular track and near residential area. Even though it was quiet that evening, I don't know, to me, like not hearing a gunshot, that's weird. Especially if it's quiet, you think you'd hear a gunshot. Now, where her body was found was opposite where she had parked her car. There was a river in between, so she would have crossed the West New York Street Bridge and started making her way down the White River Trail. So it looked like she was not far into her walk when it happened. So literally her car, not that anyone can see this, but just for you, Joey.
Okay.
Car's here. She's walked up across directly.
Like almost parallel from where the car is.
Yeah, but it's across from a river. The police obviously had already identified the body, given Sherese's driver's license laying right beside her. Still, before they even needed to make a call or house visit, around 11:30 p.m, an officer was securing the area near Sherese's car when a pickup truck pulled up near the car and said he was looking for his wife. It was her husband, Eugene Bingham Jr. He told officers he was worried as she had not come home and was meant to start work. The officer broke the news to Eugene and would ask for her last known movements. He advised that she had gone for a walk around 7:30 p.m. and he had been watching a basketball game and had dozed off. A few hours later, he woke up worried that Sherese and the dogs were not home yet and she was meant to clock into work by 10:30 p.m. He told detectives he tried to call her cell, to which she didn't answer, so he became worried and left the house to start looking for her. Apparently there was 3 trails that she would normally take, so he reckons this was the last stop for him.
Oh, so he went to the 2 other ones and then he's like, I can't
Yeah.
find her. Okay. And he would have pulled up and seen the police.
Yeah.
And her car, that would have been so scary.
Yeah. Police straight away started to feel a little off about Eugene's story. He had stated she left the house around 7:30 p.m. However, she was declared deceased before 7:30 p.m.
I take back what I said. That wouldn't have been scary at all. You were just trying to fucking fuck shit up.
Now, you might say he may have mixed up his times, or after receiving some shocking news, he wasn't able to give the correct information. However, this isn't the only time Eugene was a bit off.
Okay, but now that it's had time to sit with me for a few minutes, with what I said earlier about it being someone that they knew, someone who could get close enough to her, that makes sense. And to me, that seems really weird. Look, I know we're just at the beginning, but sorry. It's the husband.
We have found the person.
Because, like, he's gone to a park that she is in.
Yeah.
Like, that, I don't...
This might break you a bit more, this story, because there's,
Oh, good.
There's
because I need that.
Yeah.
Continue.
Now, before we go into that, police had started to try and piece together what had happened. Initially, they thought that maybe they were dealing with suicide, given the gun and the ID laid out on the floor. Sherese had possibly shot herself because the likelihood of a mugging just didn't seem accurate.
Oh, yeah, she went to a fucking park with her dogs.
Yeah. Mayday and Tsunami were big German shepherds, and first responders saw how aggressive they were at the scene. Obviously, they were so protective of their owner that it just didn't seem likely that a person unknown to Sherese would have been able to approach her without her dogs attacking them and inflicting a wound, given they were off leash at the time. Because surely there would be other blood, not just Sherese's, at the scene. So yes, exactly what you were saying before. Plenty of factors would then rule out suicide in the police's mind, as she had brought snacks with her, locked her car up with the wheel lock, and the love she had for her dogs. Why would she commit suicide whilst she had them on her if they were like her babies? And don't get me wrong, yes, sometimes that does happen, but the way that everyone spoke about Sherese and her dogs, they just spoke about why would she take them out somewhere where they'd be left alone, no one's around them, you know, why would she take them out of the house?
And suicidal people don't plan a last meal,
Yeah.
like snacks to go on their walk and stuff for protein or whatever.
And a wheel lock, like why would you lock your car up if you just,
You wouldn't give a fuck. If you were on your way out, you'd be like, take my car, whatever.
Yeah. And Eugene himself was also adamant that she would not have committed suicide. They then investigated the idea of maybe it was an accident. And Eugene had even stated that maybe one of the dogs had jumped up and accidentally
And shot her.
set off the fire
Fuck
up.
off, cunt. Your doggy, he jumped up and he put the gun in his shoulder. Fuck off. No. Eugene.
As I was saying, he thinks that one of the dogs had accidentally set off the firearm.
No, he didn't.
But put a pin in that, and we'll talk about that later. You know, the old "my dog shot my wife" theory. No, look, I'm not laughing because someone died, but
It's the theory of the dog shooting the woman.
This literally is what grabbed me to the case. Because I saw that her husband said, well, maybe the dogs accidentally shot her. No, they did not.
She fell on my knife. 10 times.
Exactly. And we'll go into all that. We will go into that.
Oh, Lord. Okay. All right. Jesus, that's what kind of case it's going to be. Cool.
Yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine. The autopsy of Sherese would show that the cause of death was a gunshot wound to the right side of her chest, and they would rule it as a homicide. They even found that she was alive for up to 7 minutes following the gunshot, and that she may have tried to phone someone, and they theorised that's why her stuff was kind of everywhere, that she kind of pulled it all out to try and call someone. On the 13th of December, Eugene would go in for a formal interview with officers. His time had changed again. He was adamant that Sherese left at 7:45 p.m. now, and he knew this because he was watching the basketball pre-game coverage while she was getting ready. He said their 28th wedding anniversary was coming up on the 14th of December, and that nothing out of the ordinary had happened before she went out for her walk or the night before.
Of course. We had a perfect marriage. We never fought. We never fought.
Never. He would go through her routine and how she worked the night shift at a Gatorade plant where she had been for around 6 months. And as I said earlier, he told officers he was adamant that she would not commit suicide.
Sorry, because he had mentioned that she had missed her 10 p.m. clock in earlier.
Yeah.
Did he also work there?
No.
How would he know, though, that she had missed her clock in at work?
Oh, as in she hadn't come home yet. So they kind of went into detail that he knew that she hadn't come home because the dogs weren't sitting on a landing where they normally always sit. So when he kind of woke up from his nap, saw the dogs weren't there, saw what the time was, he was kind of like, hang on, they're not back yet.
He was napping at 10?
Well, he fell asleep apparently around 7:30, and then I'm not too sure what time he woke up and then went off to look for her. Because technically, if she's going to work and had to be there by 10:30. Now, unknowingly to Eugene, an anonymous caller would contact the police that day with a huge story to share. They told officers that Eugene was having an affair and that it had been going on for, just 14 years. Yes, 4 years.
I bet he didn't come forward about that, did he, originally?
No, so half his marriage, he was having an affair.
That's not an affair, that's a relationship. 14 years. Jesus.
The police obviously wanted to ask Eugene more about this and see what he had to say. Of course, he started with, the affair, that was just something little, it stopped 4 years ago because Sherese found out and we ended up working on our marriage and I wanted to stay faithful to her and stay committed.
Oh, that old thing.
Officers called bullshit because they knew from the call they would continue to press him on the affair and he would finally crack and go into a bit more detail.
Was he still in the relationship with this person? It's kind of like that other guy, whatever the fuck their name was, who was like, our marriage was good, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, about a year ago I did have an affair. I'm not having an affair with this cunt now.
John Button Clark.
But I fucking am. I'm fucking having a fucking fuck with her.
Like we're not going to find out. Before we go any further, I want to say that with this case, there is a lot, and I mean a lot of information about the affair, Eugene, what his marriage was really like, that came out during and after the death of Sherese, and I'm just going to go through some things in one big spiel to lay it all out for you, dear listeners. So it can at least give you a bit of insight and you can work out what you think may have happened to Sherese, and I want you to let us know by following us on our platforms. Maybe I'll put a little poll up on the Spotify's and let us know what you think.
Yes, please.
Sherese's aunt, Deborah, would come out and say that Sherese had confided in her and said that a few years into the marriage, Eugene would move into the basement of their home whilst she lived upstairs. They seemed like complete opposites. She was very hardworking and took care of herself, whereas Eugene, and I need to tell you his nickname, which was Bo Peep. I don't know if that was given to him by her family, but yeah, anyway, I digress. But Eugene would smoke and drink and hang out in the basement and be in between jobs and was described as a quiet guy.
Bo Peep?
Bo Peep. I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea why.
Really?
But I was like, I'm going to put that in there.
Bo Peep.
Bo Peep. It was even mentioned Sherese had signed up to a church, like a new church, being rebaptized, that kind of thing. Apparently, I think it was the pastor said he didn't even know that Sherese had a husband. So she always came alone. He didn't even know she had a husband until pretty much the murder broke out. Now, Sherese had also commented to Deborah, and I quote, "I've been sleeping with the enemy. I don't even know this man." After Sherese finds out about the affair, she would sell her wedding ring to a pawn shop. One other little thing to add with Sherese, she had a total of 3 life insurance policies with Eugene as the beneficiary.
Did she know this?
Yes. And combined, they totaled around $1 million.
Oh, he's got no reason for her to die.
I just thought I'd just add that in there. Let's jump to the affair. So a year before Sherese passed, she found out that Eugene had purchased a duplex and was renting it out, with the property manager being a woman whom Eugene used to work with. It also came out that this woman and Eugene owned another property together where she lived. This information I found through a podcast called True Crime Garage. They did a huge 2-part episode on this case and even spoke to Sherese's brother. He wasn't sure if Sherese knew about this second property, so little Bo Peep is playing the double life card, and a fun fact, not so fun, that these two are now actually married and went exclusive in February 2013, just a few months after Sherese's death.
Well, that's what his new wife thinks. Exclusive.
Phone records played a bit of a part in this investigation, and they were Eugene's. Surprise, surprise. On the night of the murder, he received a phone call at 7:41 p.m. that went to voicemail. The strange thing was that instead of pinging from the cell phone tower closer to his house, it pinged to the one that was closer to the crime scene. Little weird, and it would be used later down the track. However, the phone company could not prove that the information was accurate due to the call going to voicemail. So unfortunately, it would not stand in court. So it pretty much came down to the phone company didn't want to take the stand because the call went to voicemail. It could have been a technicality that it pinged off the wrong tower. So they wouldn't say this is 100% accurate purely because it went straight to voicemail. From December 3rd to December 11th, Eugene made 38 calls to his girlfriend, and she had made 72 calls to Eugene in 8 days.
72.
72.
That is too much.
That is way too much. The day after the shooting, the girlfriend called 9 times, and then communication stopped with only one call from December 14th to January 27th. Police asked Eugene if he had deleted any calls or texts, to which he said no, but obviously that was a lie, as officers found he had deleted 9 calls. And I couldn't find any information anywhere about who these calls were to or...
From?
Yeah, but he deleted stuff. At the funeral, it was mentioned that Eugene's behaviour and body language was a bit off. He showed no emotion, nothing, didn't talk, and just looked stoic and reserved and was sitting apart from Sherese's family. So her pastor, every time I say pastor.
Pastor.
Her pastor.
A pastor.
Yes, he made a comment and he goes, I know everyone grieves in their own way. I've done a lot of funerals, and he even worked at a funeral home. But he said so many people commented on how he was acting and they were going, wait, what, that's the husband? And even he was like, it just seemed weird how he was acting. But also a little part of me is like, was he just stoned? So he was just kind of like I don't know, because he was a pothead, so.
I have a question. Did his mistress attend the funeral with him?
Not that I know of. I don't think so.
Because that would be fucked up.
Yeah, there was a report that Sherese's family actually knew the woman because she was in some family reunion photos or some catch-up photos, something like that. But they didn't find out until after she passed that he was in a 14-year relationship, because even the brother was kind of like, you did that to my sister? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yep.
Now, let's talk about the gun that was found at the crime scene. It had no usable prints, and I even saw reports of it being completely wiped, which is weird because if she grabbed her gun to put it in her breast pocket, you would think her prints would be on it. Eugene made an effort to tell officers that he used to clean her gun for her, so just in case you find my DNA on it. It also came out that they both had the same gun. Hers was Eugene's old one. And you remember earlier how I said Eugene blamed the dogs about how maybe they jumped up on her and the gun went off? Yeah, no. A trigger test was done on the gun to see how much force was needed to fire the gun. And it was noted that 10 pounds of pressure, or 4.5 kilos, was needed to set it off. This was mentioned as being on one of the heavier ends of trigger pressure.
Not to mention that most guns, not all, granted, but most guns have a trigger guard, which is that like little circular thing that kind of covers it. I don't know how a large-sized German Shepherd is going to somehow manage to get one of its little toe beans, one of them, just one, or its whole foot, through the finger guard and apply 10 pounds of pressure to somehow shoot her in the titty when the gun is, around that location anyway?
In a pocket.
In a pocket.
Yeah.
Nonetheless.
There was even reports that he tried to make out like, oh, she's clumsy and, sometimes her gun would get jammed and I'd always tell her, make sure you got the safety on, blah, blah, blah. So he tried to really paint this picture that she was, a bit irresponsible.
How did they know it got... Did they go to shooting ranges all the time? How did they know?
Apparently they did, yeah. So I don't know how active they were as shooters, but he made mention that they went to a gun range a couple of times and a gun got jammed or whatever. But detectives would even make note that Sherese had a gun pouch in which she would holster her gun in. The pouch was left at home, and it was stated that she rarely took her gun out whilst walking the dogs because hello to protective German Shepherds. Police made a note that either the gun was at home and somehow made its way down to the river, or she acted totally out of character by taking the gun on the walk and out of the holster. See what I mean about so many moving pieces, but to me, I feel very biased when I heard about the case and immediately went to the husband who did it. What do you think?
If you've heard me at all, because I don't know how much of me is going to get cut out, but if you've heard me at all, silenced! No, I'm kidding. If you heard anything I've had to say, from the beginning, I said, husband, before I even heard anything had happened. So my bet, my bottom dollar is on Eugene. I know that what you're advising is not everything that was covered. From the little glimpses of informaciones that we have, there's no way in hell that he is not somehow culpable. The end.
On January 9th, police asked Eugene to take a polygraph test, and the results came back inconclusive twice. In the officer's eyes, everything is pointing to Eugene looking guilty. If you look at the motives, the dogs knew him. Everyone made note of, I think even her family said they couldn't get close to Sherese if the dogs were around. Like, they were very protective of her, and they said the family's pretty adamant that he had something to do with it or he knows about it, Eugene, that is, because they said Eugene was the only person that could get close to Sherese while the dogs were there, and especially with them being off leash if someone tried to hurt her. Eugene's girlfriend was also asked to do a poly test, and on February 8th, 2013, she did, and she failed.
She failed?
She failed. So apparently there was 3 questions. It was like, did you shoot the woman? Did you know who shot the woman? And I can't remember what the other one was. And yeah, apparently she failed. After failing, she lawyered up and would no longer answer any questions. Eventually, Eugene was charged and arrested with 1 count of murder on July 28th, 2014. Unfortunately, the story does not end here because the state dropped the charges about a month and a half before the trial was meant to take place due to a lack of physical evidence. The main reason was that the phone company, as I said earlier, not being able to fully confirm that he was placed at the scene because they would not stand in court to say it was a definite.
Honestly, like, it is circumstantial evidence that they
Yeah.
do have. So I get that. But also, it's him. So
Case closed.
case closed. I don't get it.
This year, in 2023, it'll mark 11 years since the murder of Sherese. Her family is still pushing for people to come forward with any information, and her brother is always pushing the case to stay in the spotlight. To this day, no one has been formally charged for her murder, and police are still sure that they have the right man, they just need more evidence. And I just wanted to end on a note that Sherese's aunt had said on a video I found on YouTube about if she had a message for Eugene if he saw this. I quote, "You reap what you sow. Everything comes about full circle."
Bo Peep.
Bo peep. And with that, dear mung beans, is the case of the mysterious death of Sherese Walker Bingham, the woman I think allegedly was killed by her husband, or he hired someone allegedly.
No, he did it.
Yeah, he definitely did it. Or he hired someone to do it, or the girlfriend did it, or...
Husband's involved. Homie is involved, for sure.
The fact that the girlfriend failed, she knows something more. She
sure.
knows something.
Should have to. Yeah, that's fucked.
And to get married, like pretty much straight away.
But then also, to, like, if you do know something, right, and if it turns out that it was your new husband,
Yeah.
you feel safe? Do you feel safe at night time? You probably do. He's sleeping down in the basement, isn't he? Fucking weird.
The sad thing is as well, he ended up getting the life insurance policies as well.
Of
So
course he
her
did.
family tried to contest it. I think they settled out of court, but he ended up paying off like his duplex. I think he sold that. I think he's still got the house that he used to live in with Sherese. And officers also kind of made note that, well, I don't know if it was officers or people just talking about the case, that how he kept pushing for it not being a suicide, because I think some life insurance policies
Correct, yeah.
won't get paid out if they think it's a suicide.
Agreed.
So the
yeah.
fact that he kept being like, no, she wouldn't have killed herself. No, no, no.
Yeah, it generally has to be accidental death, and suicide is intentional.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So yeah, let us know who you think did it, what theories you have. But yeah, it's definitely a case I think that needs to be more in the spotlight, because someone would have had to seen something, heard something. I'll put photos up of the location of where she was shot and where her car was, and you can kind of see the area. Like, it's close to like a university. I think the university was open at the time. I'm not too sure if it was developed later on, but there's residential area. There's, yeah, everything. So let us know.
Yeah, right.
Goodbye.